Sup nerds, I'm back. If you stuck around, why? I'm not gonna really delve into why I was gone for so long. I had some ideas that didn't pan out. I tried to make some videos that I just wasn't satisfied with, got a little depressed, and now I'm back after watching a ton of TV and movies. But my sabbatical has allowed me to sit down and really think about what exactly I enjoy in stories and what exactly I like. And one of the biggest things that I like about stories and the ability to tell stories is the concept of world building. When I am creating D&D worlds or I'm watching a TV show, one of the biggest things that I really enjoy is when they take a second and they just explain to you how the world works. You know, the rules of the magic systems, the expansive lands, the creative designs of these lands, all that type of stuff. And it really goes to show, hey, if you have ideas and you want to make them happen, you absolutely can. It also has allowed me to delve into some of the classics, you know, Dante's Inferno, the Odyssey, the Iliad. Looking at these classic things just allows me to get a better appreciation of the tropes and ideas of where we are now. With that being said, One Piece is an anime. Alright, okay, let me explain myself. For a year and a half, my friend Jackson has desperately been clawing at me and my friends to watch One Piece, this anime that he really loves and stands by as like one of the greatest stories, if not the greatest story of all time. And for the longest time I said no. You know why? Yeah. If you were to count up all of the episodes of One Piece, including their run times, even if you get rid of the filler, as a lot of fans would say, it's still gonna take you like a solid 3 weeks to get through it. And that implies that you don't eat, you don't sleep, you don't go to the bathroom. It's still gonna take you like 3 weeks to get through all of it, straight through. And I looked at that and I said, hell no. But you know what? My friend has never really failed me when it comes to TV and movie recommendations. He showed me Community and I really liked that show. We sat down and watched Owl House. That was a recommendation for mine. But that's sort of a tradition that we have. We sort of just watch TV and trade TV shows together and talk about why we like them and what really makes us jive with them. So I was like, okay, he's never failed me before. I'm not going to go die hard into it. I'll watch some One Piece. At this point, I finished season 1 and I figured, hey, I might as well sit down and tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, and just basically go through some of the really cool things and kind of slow things about this show. Oh my gosh, it's an anime. I'm gonna get so many people upset at me. I'm gonna get people that think that, oh, you just don't get it yet. Yes, I don't get it yet. I don't get it yet. You know why? Because I have watched season 1. And this is my perspective from somebody who has watched season 1 and nothing else. I should probably not even be calling it by seasons. But you know what? Funimation calls it by seasons. So I'm going to call it by seasons. So if any of you guys want to like sit down and just cool your jets, we can get this going. I'll talk about the world and the sort of pacing of the show. I think when you're talking about the pacing of this show, it's pretty good. It's alright. It is slow in a lot of places. I feel like everybody needs to have a fight. You gotta give each of the characters love at all the times. And on one hand, that's really awesome. It sort of plays sort of like a D&D campaign where it's like, oh, everybody gets their chances to shine and show what they're really about. But then on the other hand, it makes for the story very slow. You're really spending a lot of time in one place. And when you're in one place for a long period of time, and you know the stakes and you know all that type of stuff for a while, getting the payoff from those stakes can kind of be a drag. You are kind of sitting for like 3 episodes in a conflict that you know can be solved in like 1. Purists are going to come at me, and rightfully say, but I want more fleshed out characters. I want more dynamic characters. And this is really one of the only ways you can do that. And that's fair, but what you don't really take into account is how much just pure silence is in a lot of these episodes. You'll have episodes where somebody hits a punch really hard, and for a long period of like 15 seconds, nobody is saying or doing anything. They're just sort of standing there. They're going side by side, and I get it. It's because it's adapted from a manga, so they're doing the manga justice, but when you look at it analytically, it's slowing it down, and it's making me go, okay, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward until the next thing. And that can be frustrating as somebody that wants to watch it. What I will say though is when things are happening, they're really, really fun. I love the whole devil fruit idea. I love how people have necessary drawbacks when it comes to having those overpowered things. I think a lot of the time we focus so much on the superpower and we don't focus on the drawbacks of it. And I think it's really awesome that there's this, oh, you have this special ability, but you can't swim. And I really like how they do that. I really think it's done really well. And I think it adds a little bit of balance to characters, where in other shows, characters can get overpowered really, really easily. When it comes to setting up character dynamics, I think this show does a really, really good job. I think Luffy as a character really puts together this group in a way that is so him, versus other characters that kind of just come together because, you know, they have a common goal but don't really want to be alone in that, you know. In this show, a lot of it is everybody has very, very different goals. Like, not everybody wants to find the One Piece in this show. In fact, everybody on this ship, everybody in the crew so far, has very, very different goals, and the way to achieve their own personal goals just so happens to be being together right now. And I think that's really neat. I think that gives depth and dimensions to how these characters work. Sometimes characters will completely not do things that make sense for the team because they're there to accomplish their goals, you know? There's a scene where Nami legit takes money and just dips and completely abandons the team because at one point or another, she just wants to achieve that goal. But then at the same time, you have a character like Luffy who is so about his friends and his newfound family that is really the sticking point onto why he has this crew and why the crew respects him as captain. You have the scene, the iconic scene where Nami is stabbing the tattoo off of her and yelling Arlong, and she finally asks Luffy to help, and immediately he goes, yep, time to go kick ass. And it's stuff like that that's like really awesome. I think it really shows the dimension of why all of these people like spending time with each other. You really get the feeling that these characters actually like each other and actually value each other's company instead of just wanting to stick together just for the sake of sticking together. I will say, just in general, an anime trope that I don't really like is the character that is freaking girl obsessed, and that's basically half of their character. So when you're talking about Sanji, I really freaking love Sanji when it comes to the food stuff and when it comes to him fighting and all of that. But when he's interacting with any woman, it's just very gross. I don't like it. It strikes me weird. And again, this is from the 90s. So yes, they had very different standards. However good or bad that may have been, or however right or wrong that may have been, very, very different from where we are now in the US in 2023. Still, it strikes me weird whenever that type of character is on screen, and Sanji's pretty often in that state, and it's kind of just like, okay, let's go. This is gonna be the hot take that I think I'll get a lot of crap for. Not the biggest fan of Zoro either. I think the sword stuff is freaking sick. I think him fighting, anytime he's fighting, he's freaking awesome. I love all of his fight scenes. They're lit, they're wicked. But him as a character, I don't really care about. There's nothing really that stands out. Like, there's the fact that he has a backstory where He had somebody that he cared about who was a swordswoman, a rival that didn't achieve that goal before she tragically died. Yeah. It's a lot of animes. And you could say, oh, One Piece did it first, One Piece did whatever. The fact is, I'm surrounded by that trope all the time. Can you give me more? Can you give me something more interesting? And I'm sure as I go through this show, the character of Zoro will be more fleshed out, more interesting. And all of these characters will be more fleshed out, more interesting. I'm not going to judge the quality of the entire show based on one season. But when I'm talking about this one season, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Zoro. I don't know how I feel about Sanji. What I do know is I love Usopp, I love Nami, and I love Luffy. Those three I freaking adore. I'll freaking stand by that till my deathbed. So I finished season 1 and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I finished season 1. Oh, time to go to season 2. I go to the season list, the one that lists all the seasons. And I had to scroll down because there were so many seasons. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? But I'll keep you updated as to how often I watch through this show. It's not going to be super often. It's not going to be one of those things I binge. You can't binge this show. I think it's impossible. I think it's a Herculean effort, and I'm not going to go for that. But overall, first season, pretty good.